How has life been like being at home? Probably more than that you are used to, knowing that you have traveled so much over the years to just keep the legacy of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood alive as Mr. McFeely.
How has it been being at home and not being
Yeah,
able to
being at
travel?
home. Yeah.
You know, on one hand, it's wonderful because I did do a lot of traveling and I had this whole year set up of different events. I've been visiting Comic Cons as David Newell, the person who plays Mr. McFeely, and of course, everything had been canceled. And I miss the interaction. What I liked, I think, most about the neighborhood or being part of the neighborhood was going out and meeting families, whether it be in a mall or in an event that a PBS station has. You learn so much about how effective the program has been. You know, it's like four walls. We're sitting in a studio now, and it's like making a program for four walls because you don't get the feedback. But going out, you get all these stories, and you meet little stories like you just said about remember seeing it at your babysitter's house, things like that. I learned so much, and I think that's what I miss. But I have done some Zoom interviews and Zoom visits, and they're fun. But it's not like meeting people in person. That's what I really like.
Yeah, like would you rather have that one-on-one interaction rather than doing it through a computer?
Yeah, oh yes. And I think Fred would say the same thing. He liked that one-on-one. But you know, that's why he never did a lot of big events. We never did huge auditoriums. We did a few concerts, which is different than a big arena show. We never had those because he really liked that one-on-one, talking to that one child.
Yeah.
And Fred excelled at that. And it was really a magic time for Fred. He learned so much about children, too. Just by talking to them, that's how Fred learned about what children might be thinking and how the world is, how they're reacting to the world, too. He learned a lot by listening.
Yeah. So how do you think Fred's message would have been to people to get through this pandemic?
Oh boy, I think what he would have done would have made some PSAs, I think. I think he would have thought of ways to deal with what's going on in the family, the dynamics. He would have used the medium to talk about what's swirling about us in a way that it would be supportive for their family with young children. You know, a 12-year-old can understand more what's going on than a 3-4-year-old. So he would have told the parents in some way, whatever that message would have been. And maybe he would have made two messages, maybe some for adults, how to deal with it with your child. That's what I think he would have done. And maybe, who knows, maybe if we were still taping the program, he would have had some sort of a segment about it. Who knows?
Yeah.
But he would have dealt with it in some way.
Yeah. What about maybe just like walking through the door singing "It's a Beautiful Day" in the neighborhood with his mask on, and then maybe going to maybe like a factory or some sort to see maybe how masks would have been made. Do you think that's something he could have done?
I could see that, yes. Now that particular program or that week of programs, maybe he would have produced it in such a way that if you saw that program 8 years from now, it would have made sense in the context of things, you know. But yeah, I think he would have. And I think he would have talked about the social distancing, and I think he would talk about washing hands, very basic things.
Yeah.
Because that's something children can do. They can think about that. And that's how we use television in many different ways, emotionally, but also physically, things you can do to take care of yourself. He always said, too, if you take care of yourself, I'm putting it in my words, you tend to feel good about yourself. if you want to take care of yourself, you tend to feel good about yourself, and that's a very healthy thing to do, not only physically but emotionally. I don't know if a lot of your viewers have seen all of the Mr. Rogers programs, but as an adult, what I'd recommend is taking a few of the programs, which you can see online or on Amazon, whatever, and watch him. Just see how he dealt with the world through the media. He really used it. Oh, the other thing that he talked about right before retiring, he didn't retire actually, he just stopped making the program. He had another idea that he wanted to do. You know, he started that in the early days of television, and when our last programs were taped, they kept showing, of course. He wanted to use the medium of the time, and that was the internet. He would have liked to, and I think he would have, made bedtime stories for children. And maybe the parent could have shown that particular bedtime story, whatever the story would be, just before they went to bed. Something short, not a half hour, maybe a 8-minute, 10-minute story. And the parent would have been involved too. But it would encourage creativity. It would have been a support for children. It would be a comfort. All of that was in that idea, and he never had a chance to do that. But I think that's maybe what he have done after The Neighborhood. And still, and I bet that maybe over the years, you know, he died of 2000. It's been about 18 years now.
2003.
And you know, I bet he would have come back here and there and made a special, maybe a special on the virus. Who knows? I think he would have done that. But what he did do and what he left all of us, the legacy he left, is just hours of good television for young children that still work. You know, some of the programs are 50 years old, and they really still have a message that resonates with young children.
Yeah, it's just